Hi there and welcome. I'm so glad you are with me today. I've got a lot of good information for you today as we look at iridology and what the irides can teach us about digestion. I'd love to see just in the chat box, if you would please, just a show of how many of you have iridology background already. If you've got it, just give me a yes. Mine says yes, me, fantastic. And if you don't have it, give me a no in the chat box, just so that I know who I'm working with and how best to support you in this. Okay, so we've got some of you who are brand new to iridology. So cool. So one more qualifying question here, just again, so that I know how deep I can go tonight. How many of you have got an anatomy and physiology course already under your belt? If you do, give me an A and P. Yes, yes. Me, yes. Okay, yeah, great. That's going to make it so much easier. Some of you don't, okay, and aren't. Yes, fantastic. All righty. Iridology is best learned when we've got that anatomy and physiology under our belt. We need to know how the body works, right? And we're going to link that into everything we do. So I just want to throw this out there that if you're watching this on the replay, please take a moment to like the video and subscribe to my channel. Do those two things at very least. Even drop me a comment. Let me know what you learned. And those of you who are with me live, drop me comments in that chat box about what you're learning, what insights you're gaining from our time together tonight. Will you do that for me? I'd really appreciate it. If you would do that, give me a thumbs up or an oh yeah or something in the chat box to let me know you're willing to stay in touch with me as we do this tonight. Yes, yes. Fantastic. All right. Fantastic. Love it. Yes. Great. Thank you. Really appreciate that. Your comments in the chat box build my energy. And the more energy I have, the more you're going to get out of me, right? As my energy starts to sag, you're going to get less and we'll wrap it up early. Okay. All righty. So, quick introduction. My name is Judith Cobb. You're here because you found me somewhere, probably Facebook or, something like that. And you don't know anything about me, really. I've been in the holistic health business for 45 years. I know it blows my mind too. I started in this shortly after, well, I was interested in it before I got married. And yeah, and we are celebrating 45 years next month, which is very cool. And in those years, I have become a master herbalist, a natural nutrition clinical practitioner, a certified iridology from about 4 or 5 different schools and organizations. I am also an IPA certified iridology instructor, a level 3 instructor, which is the highest level they have right now. There are only 10 of us worldwide. There's lots of level 1, 2 instructors, but not very many level 3s. In 2022, I was given the Instructor of the Year award from IPA, which was just, again, blew my mind. And then in 2024, I was given the Iridologist of the Year award from IPA, which just totally unexpected. I don't even know what I did to earn either of these, but I'm going to just keep doing what I've always done, which is deliver the best content in the best way I know how to meet my students' needs. Does that sound like a plan for tonight? I'll give you the best of what I've got. Yeah. If that sounds good, give me a great in the chat box. Let me know that that's what you want from me tonight. Sounds great. Fantastic. The information tonight is not meant to diagnose or prescribe. It is only meant for your education. We never use iridology to diagnose or prescribe. In spite of what you see on social media, we do not diagnose. We never name disease, and we never prescribe. We never name cures. We assess and we educate and we recommend. All right, so here's my IPA things. We have to recertify, we have to update our CEUs every 2 years. And so these are my latest badges from them, showing that I am a certified iridologist and a certified iridology instructor at level 3. And I'm also a professional member of the Canadian Association of Holistic Nutrition Professionals and the Canadian Association of Natural Nutritional Practitioners and the Alberta Herbalist Association. Right, there we have it. That's all of the, that's probably not all the credentials, but those are the ones that are important for tonight. Alrighty, so with this, I am going to give you the best of what I've got as we start learning about the irides and digestion. Quick question, how many of you are currently working with clients on some holistic level now? If you are, give me clients in the chat box. Are you working with clients? Yes, yes. Yeah, fantastic, love it. So good, okay. Well, let's dive in then. When we do iridology, we look at the iris and the pupil and the sclera. Each of those three parts of the eyeball give us different information. They give us different layers of information, right? And so we need to understand not only how the body works and how the organs work with each other or work against each other, because sometimes they fight, but we also need to understand how the different parts of the eyeball work together. Now, we don't have time to do pupil, iris, and sclera in relation to digestion in an hour or less. So we're not going to create that kind of stress and try to do that for ourselves. Instead, we're going to do an overview, a really high level overview of two of the most important markers in the iris that have to do with digestion and with stomach function. So a quick review of digestion. A lot of people say it starts in the mouth. I beg to differ. I think it starts in the brain, right? If you're not thinking relaxed, happy thoughts, if you're not in a parasympathetic state when you sit down to eat, nothing else is going to work. Mayan says that's right. Absolutely. It starts in the brain, right? And so one of the key things that we need to do with all of our clients, regardless of what we see in their eyes, is encourage them to sit down to eat. And I don't mean behind the steering wheel of the car. I mean to sit at a table where they can either engage in pleasant conversation or listen to lovely, soothing music. I don't want them watching TV. I don't want them reading a book. I don't want them playing on their phone. I want them focusing on eating and the ambiance of the meal, right? That's how we stimulate digestion. So important. So once we get past the brain, then we come into the mouth. The mouth is where we have the enzymes that primarily digest carbohydrates. Think of amylase, right? If we do not produce enough amylase here, we are going to not digest our carbs well. This is also where we have our teeth. Using your teeth, that's not an optional activity, right? The teeth are there for a reason. We need to break our foods down into little tiny itty bitty particles. I describe it as you need to chew your food until it's the consistency of cake batter or pureed baby food, right? That is when it's ready to swallow. That is when it's ready to swallow and not before. If you swallow it while it's still really chunky, it's not going to digest all the way. It's not going to digest easily or well. Chewing is critical. That's probably the hardest homework I give any of my clients. They can change their diet. They can learn to do cartwheels and somersaults. But will they take 20 minutes to eat a meal? That's the hard work. I will actually tell them, take your cell phone. I want you to set the timer on it for 25 minutes, and you're going to leave that cell phone in the next room. And then you're going to come and you're going to sit down to eat, and you don't get to leave the table until your timer goes off and you have to go get your phone to turn it off, right? They don't like that advice very well. That's okay. They don't pay me to like me. They pay me to get results, right? Right. And so we're chewing our food, we swallow, it comes down the esophagus into the stomach. Now that's a tricky little bit down here too, because if we don't have enough acid in the stomach, the sphincter that sits right here, that lower esophageal sphincter, will not close. And if it doesn't close, whatever's in the stomach can backwash. Now, the esophagus is a neutral pH, which means anything that is not a neutral pH that is backwashing up is going to feel like it's burning. So, you know, your stomach, when it's really functioning well, has a pH of 2. That's about the strongest battery acid, right? It is strong stuff. So even if this is sitting at a 4 or a 5, and it's backwashing up where we've got a 7, that is going to feel like it's burning. And at a 4 or a 5, there's not enough acid here to do the job, right? So we need to relax for the brain to tell the stomach, we've got food coming through, start making some juices, start getting that acid flowing, so that when the food comes down the esophagus, the sphincter will close. Then, as that food is churned and mixed, and the stomach is where we're digesting our proteins, right? That's where our hydrochloric acid is. That's where our pepsin is. This is the only place we digest proteins. And so as this is breaking down and digesting, hopefully we chewed it well enough that that acid can get to all the surfaces of those proteins and really now do the chemical breakdown. Because there's another little sphincter right in here that it controls how things are released from the stomach into the duodenum, right? And then there is a little duct that connects the pancreas and the bile. They all join up into this duct in here, where the bile, as Mayan says, the bile is going to come down here and it's going to release into the small intestine to emulsify fats, to help you break down your fats and get your fat soluble nutrients. The pancreas is releasing enzymes into the small intestine to neutralize the acidity of what the stomach is releasing. Because this is way too acid, the small intestine is alkaline. So all of that acid now needs to be neutralized, and that alkaline level is going to allow the body to break down the carbohydrates, right? And then we've got going through all of the small intestines, connecting through the ileocecal valve into the cecum, so the beginning of the large intestine, coming around and down and out. Most of our nutrient assimilation happens in the small intestine, with some assimilation of fluids and some minerals happening in the large intestine. Hopefully that was just a review for all of you. That's where we need to be, and we need to now focus on the stomach. That's exactly where we are going to be right now. So there are many indicators of a predisposition to digestive challenges. And we might see 1 or 2 or 3. There's at least 3 that are specific to the stomach itself. And then depending on what other organs we are looking at, we might see other things. Tonight, we'll focus on stomach. We need to remember with iridology that the iris shows us genetic potential. It does not show us a guarantee of what's going on right now. So when we look at an iris, what we see is that this body has the potential to have weaknesses in certain areas or inefficiencies in certain areas. Now, the client may be experiencing that absolutely just as the eyes are showing it. Or the client might have figured out previously that if they do certain things, they have symptoms. If they do other things, they don't have symptoms. And by doing those other things, they are able to enhance their body's functioning and prevent problems. They're not changing their genetic structure, but they're helping their body to function to the best of its ability. Does that make sense? If that makes sense, give me a make sense in the comments box. Let me know that that makes sense, because we do not anticipate that the eyes are going to change. The irides are not going to change as a result of what we're doing. We will see the sclera change with enough focused and dedicated work, but we will not see the iris change as a result of focused and dedicated work. So as we look at this again, we are looking at inherent predispositions. And this is why we need to have a conversation with our clients. We need to understand what are their symptoms. We need to understand what is the diet, what is the lifestyle, and we need to understand anatomy and physiology to put all this together to be able to ask our clients the appropriate questions based on all of that data so that we can help give them, so that we can give them the best answers possible. Some people that I've worked with had really robust digestive areas in their eyes, but they had symptoms. They earned the right to have those symptoms. They did not treat their digestive tracts well. And there comes a point in time when even the most robust digestion will break down if it is abused. And so when we look at the eyes, again, this is showing us the epigenetic potentials. Right? So we are looking then, there are 3 specific indicators. We're going to look at 2 of them in more detail tonight. And they teach us a lot of different things. So we're focusing on the center part, this area right here, from the inner edge of the iris to this edge right here. I want you to look closely. Can you see that there is a slight change that happens right here, that there's a division? We have this, what I call the pom-pom zone. That's not the highly technical term, it's just how I describe it. Can you see we've got a pom-pom zone and then we've got something outside the pom-pom zone? If you can see that, give me pom-pom in the chat box. Can you see that edge? Because if you can't see that edge, nothing else is going to make sense. Mayan can see it, and Miranda can see it, and Elizabeth can see it. Excellent. Osbeidi can see it. Excellent. So good. So good. Yes. Okay. So that looks like whoever's on the iPhone had to think about that for a minute, but I'm glad you can see it. So good. I'm glad you're seeing it because this is what we're focusing on tonight. And as we do this, you're going to see how important your knowledge of anatomy and physiology is. This is a 17-year-old. She was my client. She's been my client since before she was born. I started taking care of her parents a couple of years before they decided to conceive her. So I've known her since the very beginning. A delightful, delightful young lady. She was 17 when we took these photos. She is now 26 and a delightful person. So oftentimes when we're looking at iridology, one of the questions I get asked is, what special equipment do I need? To see the things we're going to be talking about tonight, you probably would need a proper iridology camera. That's not where we start. For those of you, I'm just going to grab my other gear here. For those of you who are new to iridology or looking for an iridology course, we start with lighted magnifiers, right? Something 5 power and a 10 power is what we are looking for. I actually have them on my website. And so we start with that. The 10 power might be enough to see the first markings we're looking at, but it might not be, depending on how intense the markings are. So the first one we're going to look at is called comb teeth. As you look at this edge, can you see that it looks like someone snipped the edge of the iris, almost with really weird pinking shears, but snipped little bits going in? If you can see that, put snipped in the chat box. Can you see the way it looks like it's been snipped here? Yes, yes, yes. Okay, so good. Those are comb teeth. This won't be present in everybody. It's present in a lot of people, but not everybody. It is inherent, which means she got this from her mom and dad and her grandparents and her great-grandparents. It's been passed down the line. And we are not going to make this go away. This is her genetic structure. It is going to stay. Within that, though, we can turn genes on and off. That's what epigenetics is all about, right? We give her the right nutrition. We give her the right supplements. We help her develop a really healthy lifestyle. And what it means is we can turn on the genes that say stomach's going to function better. If she has the fast food, refined carbohydrate, fizzy beverage kind of diet, that's going to trigger the epigenes that say, digestion's going to be kind of pitiful, right? And so when we see this, we know that there is an inherent tendency towards specific digestive challenges. This tells us that her stomach lining is genetically insufficient, that it's not going to want to do its job properly. So I want you to think back to your anatomy and physiology training. Do you remember how the stomach lining is structured? What different secretions does it release? What are their specific roles? If the stomach lining is indeed compromised, what kinds of symptoms might you see? I want to see some answers to this. If the stomach lining is compromised, and you're thinking through the kinds of things the stomach releases into the lumen of the stomach, and we're speaking just of the stomach, we're not going to the intestines yet, just in the stomach, what symptoms might you see from the stomach itself? We might see bloating. We might see ulcers. Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. Might see burning. Probably if the stomach's not secreting the acid, you're probably not going to see the burning nearly as much as you would see if it was super over secreting. We might have GERD and reflux, yeah, because we won't have enough acid to close that lower esophageal sphincter. We might see some indigestion, yeah, because the proteins especially are not breaking down. So good, so good. These are the kinds of questions that iridologists need to ask themselves and their clients while they are doing an assessment. We need to think through, what do I know about stomach lining? What is my client giving me for symptoms? How does that tie into what I'm seeing? What is the family history here? We need to be able to describe the structure and the function of the stomach lining to our clients. And we need to do it in a way that they'll understand, right? So here we go. Here's the stomach lining. This is taken from the anatomy coloring book, probably my all-time favorite anatomy review book. I highly recommend it. And you can get that one on Amazon, probably in your local bookstores as well. You could probably have them order it for you. It's been around for decades. I think that I'm on the 4th edition now, and I think I've had every edition they've ever published because I just love it so much. So when we look at the stomach wall, this is the outside of the stomach. This is what's facing into the intestine or into the abdominal cavity. This is what is facing into the stomach. This is the inside of the stomach. This is the lining. The lining. This is where the food is coming in contact. And so I'm just reading this comment from iPhone. Yes, I know. Isn't that crazy? She says, that's weird because you are saying that not enough acid causes GERD, yet we give antacids, which reduces acidity even more. Yes. And that causes rebound acidity, and that costs that costs people their bone density. It creates all kinds of malnutrition. And the reason we give, the reason they are given antacids is because it's a quick and dirty thing that will temporarily give comfort. It's not solving the problem, and they're doing it without full information as to what's going on. They didn't scope, they didn't do any testing to see what the stomach acid levels really are. There's not many things that actually work better or secrete more and well as we get older. How many people do you know over the age of, say, 45 or 50 who are on antacids of some sort, right? Well, we know we start losing our digestive juices at 35, and by the time we're 55, they're down by half, and yet they're getting antacids. Yeah, it doesn't quite make sense. Doesn't quite make sense. Let's come back to our diagram here. So we've got this stomach lining, which when it blows up to this, these are the individual villi in that stomach lining. These cells secrete the mucus that coats the stomach to protect the stomach from the acids. The acids that are released by the stomach are there to digest protein. The stomach is simply protein. This is one place where we need good mucus. We need mucus in lots of places in our body. This is a place where we really need the mucus to protect the stomach lining, because the better mucus layer we have in the stomach, the more comfortable the stomach is in going, oh, I can secrete more acid because I'm not going to hurt myself doing this. I'm not going to burn a hole through myself. There's enough mucus here. This is good, right? And then we've got pepsinogen, and we've got hydrochloric acid, and we've got gastrin. We've got all of these digestive juices coming from way down here in the gastric pit, being released past all this mucus and into the stomach where it can do its work. Mine is saying slippery elm bark could help. Slippery elm bark certainly can help. It can offer temporary protection as a stomach on the stomach lining. Yes, it can. But we often use it that way. Here's a gentleman in his late 60s, came to me with lots of problems. We're not going to talk about all of his problems tonight. Can you see the comb teeth here? Look at that edge of the iris that is against the pupil. Can you see that it looks snipped? If you can see that, again, give me the word snipped. Let me know you can see that. Yeah, you can see that, right? So good, so good. He's in his mid-60s. What do you think his chances are of digesting all of his food really well without a little bit of support? Pretty slim. Pretty slim, yeah. And so we see from looking at his eyes, we see from seeing that snipped edge, those comb teeth, that he likely cannot genetically secrete acid well, and especially at his age. Maybe he did it better when he was in his 20s and 30s, but now that he's mid-60s, probably not so well. So in this situation, I would want to be using probably either something like a bitters formula, or maybe just some plain old hydrochloric acid, some betaine hydrochloride with him, right? Just to see if we could enhance his digestion. If we can enhance his digestion, that means that we are going to get him breaking his foods down, which means he's going to get the building blocks to begin doing a little bit better with making his own digestive enzymes, including the HCl. And not that we'll ever get him back to his 20-year-old self, but we can certainly improve things. Now, ox bile is about fat, and it's about small intestine. So it replaces the bile from the gallbladder. So ox bile is not going to be the answer here. So we do want, can't we use magnesium to improve the HCl pump? You might be able to. That hasn't been my experience that works well, because magnesium neutralizes acid. And my experience has been when we add in magnesium, it doesn't really do as much as I want it to do. So there we have the comb teeth. We know we're going to ask questions about how well they digest. What brand do I recommend? I tend on the HCl to recommend the Nature's Sunshine products. In Canada, that one is called Protein Digestive Aid. And in the US, it's called PDA. So depending on where you live would determine what name you'd find it under. And that you would order online. It's not in health food stores. Okay. And so there we have a little bit about comb teeth. You will see this a lot. I would easily say 50 to 60% of my clients have comb teeth. We do a lot of digestive support because they may have other problems as well, but it makes no sense to necessarily address those other problems if they're not digesting well. So I almost always will need to tuck in something to support digestion. Does that make sense too? That we always probably want to support digestion? So here again, we have another marker we want to look for. And with this one, We are looking for the stomach ring. Now, you remember way back at the beginning when we showed the first picture, I said, can you see an edge? Can you see that pom-pom zone? This is what we call the stomach ring. When we can see an edge here, we know that there is fiber missing. There's a layer of fiber that should be there that's not. Some reason it just didn't get filled on the job order. Whenever we have fiber missing, we call the area rarefied. And we know that that area genetically, inherently, is going to be less resilient. It's going to be less robust. It's going to need more love continually in order to be able to do its job. So this is a female in her mid-50s, and we can see that stomach ring very clearly. We can see the outer outline of that stomach ring. When we can see that, again, we are going to be listening either for clues, or we are going to be asking questions to dig deeper to understand what is going on. What are our client's symptoms? This has always been in her eye. It's not something she put there. It's not something that a poor diet created for her. This is what has been passed down genetically. So I'm going to ask her some questions. My favorite question for anything digestive is, are there any foods you've learned to avoid because they don't feel good when you eat them or they cause problems for you? Right? And this is where I get that little shopping list of, yeah, I can't eat this, I can't eat this, I can't eat this. Right? I go, okay. And I look at the foods that she says she can't eat, things that cause problems for her. And knowing their chemistry from my nutrition background, I can ascertain, is this a hydrochloric acid problem? Is this an amylase carbohydrate problem? Is this a lipase fat problem? Right? And that's, again, where we need to know our symptoms. We need to know how the body works. We need to know what the symptoms are. And so, I'm listening for things like, if it's a carbohydrate problem, she's going to be gassy. She might burp, and that would be fairly soon after the meal. Or she might be passing gas, and there's an odor, but it's kind of almost, in her opinion, a sweet smell. Right? Yeah, there's an odor, but yeah, whatever. If it's a protein problem, she's going to have gas. She might belch, and that would be a few hours after the meal. Or she might pass gas, and in this case, the gas is eye-watering, room-clearing, absolutely putrid, the who died there kind of gas, right? That's your proteins not digesting. And if it's fats, there probably won't be gas, but there might be some bit of nausea, and she might be aware of oil slicks in the toilet when she has a bowel movement. So we need to ask those questions. Are you gassy? Does it go up or does it go down? How soon after you eat? Is there an odor if you're passing gas? What is the consistency and texture of your bowel movements? That'll have a lot to do with stomach. If she's got undigested food going through, we know two things. First thing, she didn't chew it well enough. And second thing, her stomach wasn't strong enough to break it down further. We got to nag her about her chewing though, right? That's going to be the first thing. Mayan says, can you please repeat the last one with the oil in the bowl? That's if they're not digesting their fats properly, right? They aren't, they don't have the lipase. They may not have the bile production. And so the fats are going through just undigested. So a bit of an oil slick. Is this making sense? Are you seeing how you can begin to use this information with your clients? I mean, seriously, if you're doing work with nutrition or supplements and you can get yourself from my website, perhaps the 5x and a 10x magnifier, and you can get to where you can see this using your magnifying glasses, you can begin using this information with your clients. You don't need to be a fully trained iridologist to do all of the fun and magical stuff we do with the eyes. Yes, you would need the full training, but you could get started like tomorrow. Well, I probably can't get the magnifying glasses to you by tomorrow, but you could get started next week, right? You could, absolutely. And then can you see how this will help you with coaching your clients? You can even experiment. They won't be perfect, but take their eye photos with your smartphone so that you can pop those up on your computer screen. And you won't be able to use them for any longitudinal studies, but you can certainly look and see what there is to see. This picture is a little out of focus. So if you're squinting and you're going, man, I think I need new glasses. No, it's not you. It's not you. This picture is a little out of focus. Can you see, even with it being out of focus, that we can see the stomach ring? Can you see that? Yeah. Yeah. So, I mean, it's out of focus and you can see a stomach ring. That's amazing. It's out of focus. Can you see that there are comb teeth in here as well? Even though it's not really in focus, can you see that rough edge? Yes. Yes, yes. Fantastic. How powerful is that? Right? You can see that. You know, then you're listening for things like, how well do you heal wounds? How long does it take you to heal a cut? You know, if they're not healing a cut in like 7 to 10 days, they're not digesting protein very well. And the liver might be a problem as well, right? Make sense? Right? How stable are their blood sugars? If their blood sugars are a roller coaster ride, are they getting protein at every meal? How well are they digesting it? If they're not getting protein at every meal, that's the first thing to fix. If they are getting protein and they've got a roller coaster ride for their energy, you know they're not digesting their protein well. You can look in their eyes and go, oh, stomach ring, comb teeth, And do you have gas? Do you burp? Oh, you do? I'm not surprised. All right, let's work on that end of things, right? You seeing how this fits together? This is a young boy, 10 years of age when I first met him. He came in with both of his parents. He was such a sweet kid, a really nice kid. And the fact that he brought both of his parents, usually they just bring their mom. He brought his mom and his dad. I was very impressed with that. Actually, it was a lovely family. And they came in because he was being assessed for ADD. Okay. So what we know about people who have ADD is they are very distracted. They function in the sympathetic nervous system. They eat in a hurry because they don't want to miss anything. So he doesn't have a gray border. He does have a stomach ring. He doesn't have comb teeth. A tiny bit, but not much. But he does have a stomach ring. You can't see the outer edge of it. But when we see this is a different color from the base color of his eye, which we see in here. This icy blue color is the base color of his eye. This is a stomach ring because it doesn't match the base color of his eye. Oh, okay. He's 10 years old. Do you know any 10-year-olds that like to linger over their meals? I did. My parents said I was weird. I like to dawdle over my food. My brothers didn't. They were out of there as fast as they could be. Like, we're wasting time eating here. We want to be outside playing, right? And I would just dawdle over my meal because why not, right? But kids with ADD, people with ADD, again, live in that sympathetic dominant state, which means they eat quickly, they're easily distracted, and they're not focused on eating, which means they don't digest well. Right? So when we're working with someone who's got ADD or ADHD, our biggest challenge is to find ways to make them sit still for 20 minutes to chew their food. Make sense? Make sense? We can give them enzymes and that'll help some, but it's not going to help everything. So we need to do some training with them. We need to find a way to help them stay at the table, stay focused, stay relaxed, and not let the time that they're sitting at the table become tense. You know, if we add poor chewing, which happens when people eat too fast. It happens when people have problems with their teeth. On top of, when we add that on top of comb teeth or stomach ring, what do you think the result is? And I'm looking for answers here. What do you think the result is? Give that to me in the chat box. And do you know anyone who's like that? Maybe they've got dental problems and they can't chew their food very well. You probably don't know if they've got comb teeth yet, but you will after tonight, right? You're going to go and you're going to look at their eyes, right? And you're going to see where the digestive problems are beginning and where they're ending. This is one of the issues I have. Oh my goodness, somebody's going to want to slap me down. I do not believe in smoothies. Now, why would I say that? Why would I say I don't believe in smoothies? I try to get all of my people off smoothies. They come in and I have a smoothie for breakfast, and it's like, oh my goodness, we need to stop that right now. Why do you think I would want them off their smoothies? Poor nutrition absorption leading to poor cognitive function? Sure, Amy, absolutely. Absolutely. Why do they have poor nutrition absorption? Mine says because you need to chew your food before you swallow it. And when you have a smoothie, it goes straight to the stomach without digestive enzymes in the mouth. Yes, no chewing, says Miranda and Martha. Yes, too rapid absorption. They actually don't get to absorb anything because they aren't chewing it. The food isn't properly coated with enzymes. And so they can't assimilate any of it. Right? Elizabeth says blood sugar dysregulation, no chewing for signals further down. Yes, 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 yes. Right? So I tell them to get rid of their smoothies. And they go, but it's so convenient. I go, yeah, that's the problem. The foods, the things you're putting in your smoothie are great. You've got vegetables. I don't like the vegetables and the fruit together, but okay. So let's have you do some veggies. And then let's have you wait 20 minutes. Like just chew your veggies. Just take your veggies as something you can put in your mouth and chew. And then do your fruits and chew those, right? Is that the same for soups? Soups, Christina, are, in my opinion, a slightly different creature. Because if you're doing a vegetable soup, a lot of the nutrients have leached into the broth. Okay. Ideally, you still want to chew your liquids, right? And so, yeah, I would say swish it. You know, put that mouthful of soup in your mouth, chew whatever's hard in there and swish it and get some enzymes onto it. Yeah, as much as you possibly can. And until it is the consistency of cake batter, let's just give that stomach a little support by preparing what we send down, right? So important. Who do you know who eats too quickly? I want you to think of people you know. Maybe it's a family member, maybe it's you. Do you end up with any digestive symptoms? Do you tend to be gassy or a little bit of bloated or a little bit of digestive pain? Just think about it. Mine says drink your food and chew your water. Absolutely. Absolutely. Drink the food, meaning eating until it's watery. Absolutely. That's the old Bernard Jensen. You need to drink your solids and chew your liquids, right? From Bernard Jensen. This is a little girl. She was 4 years old when we took these pictures. She is now a lovely 10-year-old. And no, she's not my granddaughter, but I would gladly adopt her. She is just a sweetie. And again, what we've got is that inherited potential. When you look at that edge of the iris that is right against that pupil, you can see she's got the comb teeth. When you compare the color of that area, that pom-pom zone, to what looks like the base color, this white isn't the base color of her eye. This is some other things we know genetically want to happen. So we're looking more at this side of the eye. This is more the base color, but you can see that this is not the same as the base color. And that means she's got a stomach ring. That means that genetically, she has the risk of having some digestive concerns. Okay, now she also has that tendency to be a sympathetic personality. right? So she's a little bit on the fight or flight side, a little bit prone to anxiety, a little bit, she went through a little episode where she had an eating disorder for a little while. Her mother's very, very conscientious, but not to the point of being a nag or a hover mother. Not like that. She's just very aware. She got her daughter the help that she needed to work through that eating disorder, got it very, very quickly as soon as she recognized what was happening. And so with this little girl, all we do with her is we give her some digestive bitters. And we don't even do it every meal. Her mom, again, is very nutrition conscious. And so with that, I'll just say, look at the meal. Decide whether this is going to be easy to digest or difficult to digest. If it's a little complex, if there's foods in there that might be harder to digest, give your daughter the bitters. If you look at this and you go, this is going to be super easy to digest, don't worry about it. Make it a very situational thing. So we do preventive maintenance with her. iPhone says I take forever to eat lunch. Lunchtime is not enough. What are some bitters? Oh, if you look in health food stores, you'll find extracts that are technically called bitters. And they are herbs that are bitter. They stimulate digestion. Another really simple thing for stimulating digestion, particularly of super complex carbs and proteins, is rosemary. Sprinkle a little bit of powdered rosemary from your herb bottles, like from your culinary herb bottles, on your food. Tremendous digestive aid and so accessible, right? This is another client of mine. She's in her mid-60s. She's been a client of mine for 4 decades. Seriously, 40 plus years. She's been away for a while. They always do that, right? They come in, we get them feeling really good. They've been for 4 or 5 appointments, get them feeling good, then they disappear for a few years. And then things shift, something happens in life, they're getting older, things start not working quite as well, they come back in, we do 4 or 5 more appointments, get them feeling really good, then they disappear again. So on her last comeback, she came back because she had gained a lot of weight. She was 100 pounds overweight, diagnosed with type 2 diabetes and esophageal reflux. Her symptoms, her biggest symptom is she has problems swallowing. She's been diagnosed with a swallowing disorder, and she always feels like there's mucus in the back of her throat that cannot be moved. That suggests to me that she has low stomach acid, right? Remember, we said if there's anything backwashing up that esophagus, that's going to create some symptoms. And one of the things it can do is irritate the esophagus and make the esophagus start producing excess mucus to try to protect itself. You'll hear that mucus in my throat complaint from so many people who have low stomach acid. And as we discussed earlier, they're being given antacids for that, which is only going to make things worse. So again, we work with her to increase her stomach acid. She was on a proton pump inhibitor. And of course, the side effects of that are it will eventually cost her bone density, right? So I can't tell anyone what to do with a med. I'm not a doctor. I'm not licensed to give that kind of advice, but I can ask questions. So I asked her, what would happen, do you think, if you maybe took a little break from the PPI, from that proton pump inhibitor, so we could experiment with some things for your stomach, knowing that if it wasn't working, you could go right back to your PPI. How would you feel about doing an experiment? I didn't ask her if she was willing to do it. This was feeling things out. How do you feel about that? Think about it. What do you think? Right? She decided that, yeah, she was willing to try it on her own volition without consulting her doctor. That is her choice, right? I didn't tell her to do that, but we've been together 40 years. She knows I'm not going to suggest anything that's really stupid or off the wall. She decided it was worth trying. She had the PPIs at home. If she needed them, she could go back to them. Not a big deal. So what we did is we actually worked at increasing her stomach acid. I gave her betaine hydrochloric acid, and we started out really small, a tiny dose. And every few days, we just increased it a little bit. About 2 weeks into it, she sent me an email saying, "Oh, my stars, I should have come to you first again." She said, my throat doesn't have that lump in it anymore. My stomach feels better. My digestion feels better. Everything is feeling better. I was like, yes, you're in your mid 60s. What are they doing giving you a PPI? That makes no sense to me. All right, so there's so much more I can teach you, just not tonight. There's more organs to talk about. There's more digestive markers we can talk about. There's more things in the iris we can talk about. There's things in the sclera. There's things in the pupil shape. There's so much to teach you. But do you see how fast that was? Like, how long does it take to see if there are comb teeth? Christina is asking, will there be more classes like this? Yes, they will be the same high level kind of class. Good way to dip your toes in to see if iridology is something you want to get serious about learning. Amy's saying, so neat. Yeah, it is. iPhone says, don't you have to taper PPI? We didn't with that client. And it worked beautifully for her. Now, I'm not saying I would do it that way for everybody, right? It would depend on the client, on my relationship with the client, where they were starting, where we wanted to go, what other meds they were taking, what they were willing to do with their diet. But I knew she was willing to do the work. Mayan says, you make it sound so fascinating. I absolutely love it. Thank you. And iPhone says, I'm always fighting with GI doctor to stop the PPI, especially when they give it with no symptoms. They say it's prophylactic. Drive me nuts. Oh, I can tell you stories about doctors wanting to give prophylactic drugs when they weren't even needed. Dr. Bernard Jensen said this: after your meal, sit a while, then walk a mile. Excellent advice. So as we look at that, some health professionals want to learn iridology because they want to be able to do faster assessments with their clients. I know people that spend like 3 hours doing an initial assessment, and it doesn't need to take that long to do it well. They want to be more accurate. A lot of people that I teach this to are using lengthy questionnaires, which are not very accurate. They're not client specific, right? And you get bogged down in paperwork with that. And clients don't like filling out questionnaires as a general rule. Iridology will also help you to build better and faster rapport. You know, if you can do a photo of your client's eye, pop it up on the screen, show them what you're looking at, ask them questions that are relevant to their situation, how heard will your client feel? They're going to know that you get them, that you understand them. And that's what we need, because that develops trust. That helps you move forward with them more quickly to get results for them more quickly. And it eliminates the need for an intake form, not a release form. You always use a waiver release form. Always, 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 and always, for your mother and for your brother even. But the long questionnaires, you'll be able to ditch those. The next dynamic iridology assessment system for health professionals course will be starting on Wednesday, September 3rd, 5 till 7:30 Mountain Daylight Time. So that's an hour earlier than what we started tonight. And if you would like information, most of it is on my website. So I'm going to pop that into the chat box. Oops. And no, I want to send this to everyone. Thank you very much. Oh yes, tech and I sometimes, right? There we go. Ta-da. So that link that you see here is in your chat box. One of the things that makes the dynamic iridology assessment system program stand out from others is you can only enroll after you and I have had a conversation. And that's because we need to talk. We need to make sure that you and I are going to get along together well, which we probably will. But I also need to make sure that you've got the anatomy and physiology under your belt, and that this course is going to take you where you want it to go, right? I don't want people enrolling in the course because they're just curious and interested. They often don't make it through the course, and that's not good for them. It's not good for anybody. So if you've already got anatomy and physiology under your belt, and you are and you are interested in learning iridology at a clinical level to be mentored and supported, then we need to have a conversation, right? We need to talk and get you lined up for the September cohort. I only take 10 students per class. And that's not a scarcity tactic, that's a bandwidth tactic. If I have more than 10, it's too many. It's too much to manage, it's too many people to mentor. So I keep my group small so I can mentor my students appropriately. The Dynamic Iridology Assessment System course is the only live, online, fully mentored course for people who have anatomy and physiology at the college level under their belt. You've got to have proof that it was a separate course, right? Because that's what the International Iridology Practitioners Association will require when you are completing the certification requirements. It's not just me, it's them too. And this is for people, for professionals who want to streamline their clinical work without sacrificing client care. So you can stop working unpaid overtime creating your clients' protocols. So you can stop creating programs that are just over the top too much that your clients can't even do. If you can create programs that are manageable, then it's going to increase your client compliance and your long-term retention. Mayan is asking, where can I watch the recordings? The recording link will be sent to you tomorrow. How long is the course? We're going to cover that in just a moment. And how much time commitment do you need, Christina? Those are brilliant questions. Let's look at those really quick. The course is 20 weeks long for the course itself. That doesn't include the mentoring for certification, but the mentoring for certification is included in the tuition. So 20 weeks long, we meet, it's actually 2.5 hours per week for 20 weeks, interactive, small group, right? Each class session is recorded and uploaded to your student site. So if you have to miss a class or if you want to review, it's there for you. We do extra group mentoring, again, included for my students and my graduates. So twice each month, we have an extra sort of open mic webinar where students can bring questions and cases about iridology, about the business of iridology, about marketing iridology, about, I didn't understand this in our last class, can we go over it again? Right? Any support you need comes in that mentoring session. I include the 225-page downloadable textbook, 45 pages of cheat sheets or study notes. Again, only 10 students, and there is one-on-one for mentoring for certification preparation. Christina's saying, for those that don't have college level ANP, do you have a link to an online program? Yes, Christina. Can I find that super quick for you? It is, let me just get into the nether regions of my computer really quickly, and I can post that link for you. Yes, because this is a link that you could this course is one that if you were focused, you could have it done and be ready for September, right? If you wanted to come to us in the September course. Okay, I need to type in the right thing here. There we go. That should, dyslexic fingers. I mean, no offense to anyone who has true dyslexia. My fingers sometimes don't coordinate with my brain. There we go. There's a reason I am not a steno or a secretary, and it would be because of my typing, just saying. Okay, where's that link? It's in here. I know it is. There it is. Okay, here we go. This should be it. Actually, this is it. There we go. That's through the Canadian School of Natural Nutrition. Okay, an excellent school, and you can enroll just for the anatomy and physiology course. Self-paced, on your own. They say it takes about 84 hours to complete. So from now, you'd have most of June, July, and August, seriously spending an hour to an hour and a half a day, you'd have it done. Totally done, right? This is what one of my graduates said. She was a registered nurse, as we'll see here. This is my first iridology course. However, in my certified natural health professional course, we were given a 3-hour lesson on iridology in a nutshell. That lecture and study material left me more confused than before I knew anything at all. Judith's dynamic iridology assessment system has been an incredible experience, and we are just halfway through the program. Her teaching materials are thorough and easy to follow. The charts are invaluable and so insightful. I left Western medicine a while ago in favor of natural health. I've been an RN for 22 years. Western medicine wasn't able to help me with my health challenges, but iridology has helped me to identify many of my health challenges and act to support my body toward better health. I have also been able to guide my family in supporting their bodies. Judith is truly amazing and is my most favorite instructor out of all my many years of higher education. Thank you, Judith. I adore my students. I do. Even if they don't post a lovely comment like that, I adore my student. Again, the next class is starting on September 3rd. You will find on that link that I posted, the Iridology education link that I gave you in the chat box. That will give you a little more information about the course. And in there, it also has the link for you to schedule a meeting with me, a one-on-one meeting, for us to talk about the course, about your goals, and for us to decide if this is the right course for you and if this is the right time for you to do it. Again, I'm not interested in taking students who are wishy-washy, who think this would be a fun hobby, who don't have anatomy and physiology under their belt, because it drags us all down. I want students who are ready and who are eager and who have that anatomy and physiology under the belt, because this is for health professionals, right? How many times per year do you start the course? 2 or 3, depending on my energy and other demands. I have a 92-year-old mother, and there are times when I can look ahead and go, the next few months are going to be challenging, so I don't schedule classes for that time. So I would encourage you, we're looking clear for the next 6 months or so. She's in good health so far and holding well. So the September course is a definite go. After that, we don't have any dates started. Possibly 1, maybe 2 more times before we get to next summer. Right. So there we have it. And that is it. Any other questions for me? Will there be any more? Yeah, there will. Christina, you've registered for this one. That means you're on my email list. That means you'll receive the email invitations. They won't all be as chewy meaty as this. Some of them are more basic, right? Some of them are, they're just very different. There's no two the same, right? So yeah, watch your emails, watch your junk spam and promo and all mail, since that one is that's where they often end up going because of that lovely filters that our emails have now, right? Love the meeting when says Christina. Yeah, right. Absolutely. Absolutely. All right. So with that, my friends, I hope you have a brilliant evening. You're welcome, Miranda. So good to have you with us tonight. And Christina, yes, you're welcome too. So good. So good. Do check in on the replay when it's posted and drop a comment and give it a thumbs up. Let me know what you think, and also watch your emails for the next one of these to come around. I don't even know what the next topic is, and it'll probably be in a couple of weeks, 2 or 3 weeks. So watch for that, and use that link if you are looking for an iridology class, if you want to speak with me one-on-one, because you're just that close to getting registered. Use that link. Let's talk about it. Let's see if it's the right fit for you. Again, have a brilliant evening, and I look forward to seeing you again real soon. Bye for now.